bring this down just to here. There you go. Seal all hops on here. Should be able to get going here pretty quick because I've already got everything warmed up in there. Let's see who ends up popping on first. Brian, what's up? We are going to forge a couple of EDCs that I need for the show. For Texas Select and Lake Texas. I've got more to forge, but I'm going to forge some of these profiles right here. I'm going to do 2 of them. This is just a little template. So we're going to be trying to get as close to that as possible. I've got it marked out on my anvil over here so that I have the actual size that I'm going for reference. So grab the hammers we're going to be using. 2 Basterds, fat, straight peen, cross peen. Probably use the old turning hammer at least once. Use a dog head. Probably don't really need this hammer, but I'll use it anyways just in case. And Planishing hammer. See, on some of the hammers, I can actually just set them on the ground like this, which is typically what happens. They just get stood up like that. But on a couple of these hammers, the handles go all the way through up here, so you can't really do that. Mo, what's up? What's up, Neil? But those are just going to be down here. I've already got the still hot, so we're going to be able to pull this out and start forging. So again, profile that we're going for is something pretty similar to this right here. This is my EDC. So we're going to be going for something similar to that profile so I don't have to do hardly any stock removal. What that turns into is this EDC right here. So 26C3 is what we're forging, the steel. So turns into this little EDC package that I sell at the shows pretty much exclusively. I say exclusively because they are only for sale at the shows. This one will actually be for sale on my website. It'll be the only one that I sell outside of the shows. Blue Rich Light, brown micarta pins, 26C3, and then leather and Kydex sheath with the ulti-clip set up to where you can actually put it in your front pocket and clip it, or you can flip the clip around and put it on your hip, or however you want to do it. But that one will be for sale on my website. It's the only one that I'm selling outside of the shows. All right, so what we got to do, we got to start off going ahead, forging at a point. What I'm going to do with this is I'm actually going to forge in a point almost into both sides. So I'm going to forge a little bit of a point to the tip, a little bit of taper to the back, because our back of our handle looks like that. So basically we just need to create an oval a little bit, and then we're going to end up forging in this section and bringing that down. So I'm doing 2 of these. We got to get them nice and similar. We're going to go in, start forging that tip. Just slightly overhanging. just slightly overhang it off the edge. So we're just slightly overhanging it off the edge. We're coming in and we're forging just behind the tip. And we're going to make us a nice point without some crazy fish lips. Like I said, we're doing 2 of these. So we're pretty much going to be foraging the whole entire time. Just getting after it. Overhang again. We just start bringing it down just like that. Yeah, EDC, we're going with that profile right there. This is a bird and trout or a fin and feather, depending on what you really tend to call them. These turn into, for people who are just hopping in here, these turn into this. So this is the profile that we're forging right now. There's our point. What's up, Steve? So there's our point on that side. We'll go ahead, forge in a rough point on the other side. Right now, for length, yeah, we're doing fantastic. So these pieces of steel were, of course, shorter than the piece that we start off with, or what we're going for. We'll bring y'all in just a smidge. That way y'all can actually see it a little bit better. And I can still come down here and talk to y'all. So now, when we're forging in the tip, on this particular phase, again, I'm going to hang it just off the edge a little bit, and then we'll pull it back onto the face of the anvil and just go on to the edges. Just like that, a couple times. Slide it back out. There's our rough tip on that one. Over, do the same thing to the other side. And then we'll end up forging out that transition between the heel and the handle, what creates the finger joint. Switch it to a smaller set of box jaw tongs. Come back in on the back side here. Same thing. I'm going to create 2 notches this time. to bring it down too much. Just enough right there, just to bring it down a little bit to the size of the back side here. Let me make sure I have all of the comments on. There we go. But yeah, that way we just have that back section. Now we can go ahead and forge in our notch on the next teeth for that one. Go back in, same exact thing. Create 2 notches, 1 on each side. Then little taper on that side. So what I'm going to do on this next heat is I'm going to create that transition between the heel and the blade. I've got these profiles drawn onto the face of this other anvil. I'll show y'all. So on the face of this anvil, I've got a profile on each side. Basically, one of the profiles is the butt of the handle. The other one, like, one is faced this way, with this towards the front of the anvil. The other one is faced this way, the tip towards the front of the anvil, so that I can kind of, no matter which side I'm holding, it's easy to actually get a size reference. So right now that I have these tips forged, I can kind of get an idea of where I need my finger tool to start. Here. That right there is where my finger tool is going to start. So this is all going to be heel here. We're going to have to bring that down. These, of course, have forged distals. They have forged bevels. They have all that. So these are not going to be knives that have a ton of stock removal done to them. They'll have a little bit just to get the, so they'll have a little bit of the stock removal just to make sure that I scale it down to match the other sizes. That's about it. I just want to get as much of the forging done as possible with the tapers and all of that, because that's an aspect of this knife. It needs to have texture all the way down to the heel of the blade. So you can see the transition between the micro plunge line, where it transitions from the bevels up into the heel just behind the plunge line, kind of going up into the ricasso. I want that to be textured, so I need to forge this heel all the way down to almost a finished edge. And then it's got to have the texture almost all the way to the tip, so it's got to have a distal that goes all the way to the tip. And it's going to have a distal taper on the tang, so that distal needs to come back. Because I don't want to sit there and have to grind a lot of this. I want it to mostly be done in the forging process. Now we're going to grab this other one. Get roughly where I need to be on the handle size. Cool. bring it over. Again, the whole point behind the way that I do this, I always have the blade hanging off the anvil and the part that's going to be the handle up on the anvil. So that as I forge in here, it pinches the part that's going to be the handle, but leaves as much of the height into the heel as possible. So you keep the height of the heel hanging off of the edge. If I was to flip this around and do it with the heel on top of the anvil, it would just compress the blade section and not really the handle. So you want the handle, the thing that you want to compress, to be on top of that anvil. Let's see what you said, dude. Nice. Yeah, I'm excited to see how that canister looks, Steve. All right, so now we're going to compress this down quite a bit. So roughly profiled to our handle. Not going too crazy right now with making it perfect, because I still have to go through and do a distal, things like that to it. That was actually kind of funny. You didn't have to remove the comment. Same process. Just to keep that profile down there. What's up, splitting slices? So I'm gonna go ahead and distal these just a little bit. Well, we'll start forging on the bevels and the blade side. Get the height out of our blade, and then we'll come back and start doing the handle after that. So I'm gonna switch hammers. I'm gonna go to the cross peen, straight peen, the 2 Basterds fat peen. That's the one I'm gonna use. This is gonna give me length. This is gonna give me height. This draws height. This draws length. That creates little peaks and valleys. I'll show you right now. So I want to get a little bit of height out of that. Boom, just like that, we got some height. That gets us closer to the height that we need for the blade. And what that's doing is that's creating a bunch of lines going this way. Whenever I flatten those out, it's going to give me more height or length or width, whatever you want to call that. So what that does is that creates a whole bunch of peaks and valleys. So it creates a whole bunch of peaks and valleys, a whole bunch of dents like this. Whenever I go and I smash that, it's going to stretch it out like that. So we were only this long, I smash that down, boop, get that length. Height on that one. Now that I have that height roughly where I want it to be, I'm going to switch to the turning hammer, which is a Farrier's hammer. It's round on this side, flat on this side. Let's see what y'all have here. Nice. Start with a little kitchen knife. I make it. Yeah, that definitely helps. Like, I'll show you. This is the chef's knife that we forged last weekend on the live stream. So this is a 13-inch chef's knife that was done last weekend. The puppy is thin. So still plenty of work to do to it, but distal taper on the tang, good height on that. That was forged on that live stream. I've got a Damascus one that I'm working on today after the live stream. We got to do some bevel grinding on it. So we're going to take the round side of this turning hammer. We're going to forge into that heel. Then go down those bevels. We're working on the edge primarily. Over to the flat side, planish just a little bit, and we're starting to thin out those bevels. You can see we've got a whole bunch of round dents going down that edge side there. The whole point behind doing this process is not trying to make this thing look like a beautiful knife the entire time. We're trying to manage our material. We're trying to manage our material and move it to the right section. As we do this, we're not trying to make it look beautiful the whole time. We got to get that material to the spots so that we can then put it in its beautiful spot. We're going to do that same process on this one. Work down that edge, starting off on that heel. Pull that heel down just the last little bit. Cutting edge. Remember, we're using the round side of this, not the flat. Until just now where I switched to the flat. The whole point is to pinch the edge. We want to put all those little dents in there and pinch that edge and start to thin it out. It's a lot easier to do that with the round side. What I mean by I'm not worried about the way the blade looks is right now we're just trying to get everything where it needs to go, and then we'll start planishing and profiling and make everything perfect. Gotta get on that round side again. Back down into that edge. Now we're going to switch to the spine side at the tip. With the round side. What that's going to do is start forging in a distal taper. And it's going to drop our point back down a little bit. So drop that point back down and center it up. And it's going to start giving us, so start thinning out that tip and giving us a slight distal taper as we do that. So basically, I'm forging around. I've already forged in the bevels a little bit whenever I was using this cross peen. I forged around, and then I'll flatten the whole entire thing and blend it all together. And that basically kind of is a medieval scalp blended. Now, of course, it looks way more beautiful whenever it's actually finished because these turn into this. So you want that forged texture all the way down to that tip right there. And all the way down to the heel. So that's what we are turning this little rectangle piece of steel, which started off just like this. This exact size piece of steel is what this started off as. So you go from this from that to that. That's what we started out as. This is what we're getting to. Dropping it down. Creating that distal. Just keep working it in there. Whenever I say I'm not worried about the profile of this, as we're doing this, a lot of the times the handle will just start moving around and shifting on me. I don't really care about any of that because whenever I finish my profile, I'll go through and put all that stuff back where it's supposed to belong. Flat side of the hammer. detail that here in just a second. Okay, so for one, blade profile. See what I mean? So what we're going for, what we're at right now, starting off as a rectangle. That's how close you want to get to this. Then of course, we're forging in that distal to the tip, getting it nice and thinned out, drawing out our heels. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and probably just clean up those bevels a little bit, clean up that distal, and then I'm going to switch to the handle side and clean that up. I'm not worried about the overall profile just yet. I just want to clean up where the material's at. What's up, Matt? Still looking good on there. Don't worry about what's happening with the handle. Distals are getting done. Get up just a little bit more. Matt would know if they feel good in the hand because he hand sanded almost every single one of the handles on this. So he knows exactly what they feel like. Where do you get one? This will be the only one. Okay, real quick. Hi. This is the only one that I'm going to have on my website. Okay? This is the only one. The rest of them are going to be Texas Select and Blade Show exclusives. So I've got a few of these that are going with me to Texas Select down by Austin. And then I've got a few of them that are going to Blade Atlanta. By the way, I do have a table there at Blade Atlanta this year. But I'm going to have this one with the leather and kydex sheath, with the ulti clip. This one right here with the blue rich light, the brown down by Houston. Yeah, well, Texas Select is kind of, it's in by Belleville. It's more closer to Austin and San Antonio than Houston. The Texas Custom Knife Show is down by Houston. This one is blue rich light with brown micarta pins, 26C3. Again, leather and kydex sheath, clip set up to where if you want to wear it in your pocket, you can, or you can flip the clip around, wear it on your hip. But I'm going to have that one posted on the website today, directly after this live stream. It'll be the only one you'll be able to actually order until after Blade Show, which is in June. You see how close I get these forged to the actual profile. Talking about you bought a forged knife. This is a forged knife. And the website is theriversexperience.com. Pretty sure my wife could post that in there, the old comment section there. Whenever we're forging at this lower heat, all we're doing is planishing. I'm not moving a bunch of material at this point. All I'm doing is going through and evening things out. blade profile is looking good right there. Got our distal going. Like I said, as soon as this live stream ends, I'll have that one and that one only available on the website. That doesn't mean it's the only one I have, because I have 3 of them already finished right now. I've got 4 that I'm making, but those are all only going to be available in person at the show. And these things are 65 HRC on the edge. Just in case you're wondering, it is a nice, screaming hard EDC. Still durable, it's still been tempered and everything. Planishing, evening things out. Over to the handle. What's up, Nisha?
Well, just so that we want to have correct information out there. Whenever you're talking about Texas Select is in between Austin and Houston. However, it is closer to Houston.
Is Texas Select, is Belfast closer to Houston?
Yes. It's like if you were coming from Austin and you were going to Houston, you're going to stop there. But it's 106 miles away from Austin. It is 64 miles away from Houston.
Oh, okay.
So we just want to correct information out there. It's in between Austin and Houston. But
She just wanted to prove me wrong. That's all she was trying to do. She's not trying to give you all correct information.
I am trying to give them correct. And it's because you're thinking.
What's up, Mule?
Whenever you're thinking Conroe is like directly north of Houston, and
Oh, I thought you were
Bellevue.
coming out here because you were going to try and help me with something.
I mean, I might here in a minute.
She came out here to prove me wrong.
I did help you with I did help you with something. I helped you put correct information out there for people who may want to come to the show.
Right. So I'm going to show y'all something real quick. This is one of the blades that I have on the table at Blade Show in Texas Select. This is actually from Mule Power Forge right there. Sheath.
Micarta, burlap micarta.
Huh? No, leather.
No,
Oh, yes.
the handle is burlap micarta.
We weren't even out there yet. So, this right here is one of Mule's EDCs right here. You see his little Mule logo. That is a very comfortable knife. So I'll have that with me at Texas Select and Blade Show to show that off. This one, and it's awesome. Sheath setup and all of that. So that's going. And then we'll also have, of course, Duck's chopper, Duck Rabbit. His I-beam chopper with the wood inside the I-beam. So both of these will be on the table so y'all can actually check out their work in person at both those shows. All right, let's switch to the tang side of these. Get these tangs all set up. And thin out the tang a little bit. Actually gonna switch hammers. We'll go with the dog hand. 2 Basterds. forging a little bit of a distal. Working back from the ricasso. Forging a little bit of a distal into that so that we have a distal to the tip, distal through the tang. I'll refine that profile just a little bit here in a second. Go ahead and do the same thing on the other one. The only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to correct the profile just a hair before we start forging it out. Whenever you're forging in a distal taper, you just want to make sure you're forging pretty much from your ricasso back, or what's going to be my plunge line area. You see there's two different sheens. There's a dull and a shiny. I'm only forging really in that shiny area because I need it to go from there to thinner as we do that. Now, of course, we got to clean up the profile on this, but it's a lot easier to forge that distal down a little bit and then do your profile, because what ends up happening whenever you go through and you forge a distal, you can do it a couple different ways. You can forge it by putting it on the horn and then pinching it, stretching it out. You can forge it with just the two flats and pinch at an angle as you go with more pressure. You can use a straight peen to compress it down and stretch it out and forge it down to be thinner. You do it a few different ways, but a lot of times what happens is as you're distaling that tang out, you're going to make everything larger. So the height's going to get you're brought out, everything's going to get larger. So it's almost easier to slightly distal it and then clean up your profile, and then when you barely have to distal it, it doesn't move there, like it doesn't mush everything out or push everything out as much. So put a little bit of that distal in there, and then go through. Fix that profile. Now I've got some planishing and whatnot to do, but I'm going to show you all this. Okay? Profile that we were working for, profile that we forged. All right? Now imagine how much material we saved by forging to this profile as opposed to just stock removing all of that. So what we were going for, what we forged. Not worried about it being perfectly straight. I'm looking at the thickness and zones and things like that. Whenever I go through and I planish this, Everything is going to be nice, straight, and even. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to planish the blade, and then I'm going to planish the tang up into the blade. Primarily because some of that stuff can be done through stock removal when it comes to the tang. We're going some customs right now. Nice. Go ahead. Clean up this profile. What I'm going to do with this one is I need to clean up the profile of the blade. So I'm going to heat up the blade side, and I'm going to adjust where this section sits. I'm going to take this whole section and boop, pop it down to fill in this negative space right here. While that's heating up, we'll go ahead and planish the other one. Pull out the old auto body hammer. Distilling it from the ricasso all the way up as I'm planishing it, just making sure that's all even. That way we have a nice smooth transition all the way down to that tip. That way, from the ricasso up to the tip, we just have a nice smooth transition all the way down. And plus it planishes the ricasso, so now all I've got to do is planish up to the ricasso. For all you non-knife making individuals, you're wondering what the ricasso is. It's like on this little chef right here. My handle is going to go up to about right here on this. This space in between the bevels and where the handle is going to be is the ricasso. That. So this is a 26C3 chef right here. It's actually got a really nice hamon on it, which you can only kind of sort of see on here. The edge is darker than the actual main bite. You can kind of see it ghosting a little bit right through here. But whenever I go through and I etch the heck out of it, it's going to have a nice hamon on there. Yeah, 26C3. I've got a Damascus, one of these, that I'm going to be doing here soon as well. So yeah, this is the forged, the one that we did on the live stream last weekend with Brute to Forge up top. It's a 13-inch chef. Super thin edge on that thing. You can barely see it against my finger back there. Yeah. Alright, let's work on the one that we need to fix the profile on. I am just going to use my little auto body hammer. I'm going to put the tip of the blade up on the step right here, and I'm going to move it around. I'm going to shift everything down. I'm not super worried about what's happening to the handle right now. Because that's going to end up getting shifted back. My goal was to take the big dip that was right here out, move this space further down, and get it closer to that profile right there. Past all the scuffs and scratches. So, I really like this blade. I noticed this right here might be the thing that messes with people a little bit or anything like that. I don't know. But I actually like this. Whenever you're holding this, just that little guard right there is comfortable. And if you want to cut a rope or anything like that, that right there, lock it up into there, do what you got to do. Locking stuff into this little section right here. There's a lot of things that make that little guard awesome. The only thing that I would do to this is I would knock these edges off right here. I would just knock these edges on the guard off just a little bit so you don't get a hot spot right there. It's super crisp. I do like the way it looks. But that's all I would do. I would just, if I was to modify this at all, that's the section that I would change. That's it. Everything else I'm in love with. even. Nice. So that is basically one down. We just got to get the second one. To be even like this one. That's one done. Nice and straight. Everything's looking good there. I'm just going to put it on top of the forge right now to let it hang out. I'll end up annealing it in a little bit. We just need to finish cleaning up the profile on this one. Because I'm not moving a whole bunch of material, I don't really have to worry a ton about using a big old hammer. Who log in or who chime into the live stream right now, watching me forge with this tiny little video hammer, are like, what the heck is going on? One more round of it. And I'll be happy with the blade on that. And then I'll planish it and then planish that tang. Those will be done. Let's see here. Good, Joe Barry. What's up, Joe Barry? Something already taken into consideration. We'll be applying another. Nice. See, that's one of the things that I think about a lot, like whenever I make my chefs. So because of the way that you hold the chef knives, you bring your finger all the way up into that little groove right there. Nice, Steve. So you got your pinch grip all the way up here. Middle finger goes all the way up into the groove. Because you have it tucked all the way up in there, that whole entire heel right there, this is all radiused. All the way around. And it is radiused all the way down to the heel. You can see how much it rounds from here to the edge and then up into those plunges, those little baby micro plunges. That way, whenever you have your finger up on there, you don't get any hot spots on these. And I do that to a lot of my knives that have like little guards and stuff like that, just to make it comfortable. Alright, that's hot enough. Let's go ahead. Continue working it. Now, to be fair, I could have just left this one as it was. It's within margin, but why not? Go ahead and just make it perfect. doing right now is I'm planishing, but I'm just working on the center of the bevels. The center of the bevels were just a tad bit thicker than the spine. I'm forging in that distal. Now I'm just making sure that it tapers fully down to that cutting edge. While I'm planishing. I wonder if I can actually show y'all the sheen difference there. But there's, grab one of the old pointers. There's a duller section all the way around the outside. And man, it doesn't really show up on the camera that much, but just this center section right here is what I was forging on. Just the center section, not this outside section, not this from here down, not that. Just forging in this center section right here, just blending from the spine down to that cutting edge to make sure everything, oh, there you go. This side actually shows it better. Like I said, you can kind of see a little bit of a sheen change from the edge up into the center. It's a little bit darker in the center there. If that even helps, I don't even know. Hopefully that helps kind of explain the process of what I'm doing there. So because I pinched the spine all the way down and I pinched the cutting edge, it ended up making the center almost like as if it was a dagger. Bring y'all back down. So yeah, and I wanted to get rid of that ridge. And the nice thing about that is that little ridge is what needed to be kind of worked on a little bit in order to get rid of that negative space that was in that spine. So that little section where it was it dipped down in the spine, it got rid of that. And a lot of that is because now I'm smashing the, I'll show y'all. I've actually got a blade that has a really solid medial ridge in it. So this is one of the knives that I forged here on one of the live streams. And you can actually see this ridge line that's right here. So shiny on this side, dull on this side. I just basically forged that center section where that ridge is down, and that moved that material this way and that way in that process. So that's a Quaken that has a fully forged medial ridge down it. That is actually a very, very hard thing to do, to keep it centered and keep it even all the way down and keep it crisp. So there's a bevel going towards the spine, bevel going towards the edge on this on both sides, and it's curved. This is the handle side, that's the blade side. That is not an easy thing to do. That was more of a, I'm going to do this to prove myself that I can do it type thing. our distal going all the way down. Alright, now we'll heat it back up, get that tang pulled back down into line. We're nice and perfect on that profile for the blade. Now we're going to heat up the tang, planish that down, correct the profile, and then both these two puppies will be done. And I can go through and start doing my actual grinding that I have going on for the rest of the day. Well, thank you, Joe. That is one of my favorite parts about a lot of these. So whenever I go through and I make these, I like actually leaving as much of the forge process as possible in this area. Like on this whole heel here, this is all from the original forging. So there's actually still the texture on the whole heel from the forging process. But I love leaving as much of that part on there as possible when it comes to forging it and doing stuff like that, because I want people to see how close to the actual finished product that it got forged. So a lot of the knives that I make are left like that. But we go with this one right here. So on this integral handle knife right here, this I-beamed one, again, all of that is hammer and anvil. And it's actually radiused. And then of course this is all radiused as well. But just going through and making it clean like that is just one of the things that I really like. All right. Get this tang where we want it. And bring it down really much. Back around. All right, so now we have both those forged. I want to see, I might modify them a little bit. I'm going to put them both next to each other. Now, of course, they're both within grinding corrections. I'm gonna pull you in here real quick just so that y'all can actually see this. So I'm gonna take y'all off the camera stand or the camera mount. I use everything from 26C3 to 80CRV2 to 1084, all the 10 series steels. I was wondering if I was gonna go just too far for the Wi-Fi, but you can, those are the two blades that we forged. See how similar the heels are, handles, blades. Those are easily within grinding, you know, a 1/16 to an 1/8 off here and there to be where they need to be. Put y'all just a little too much into the area where the Wi-Fi wasn't gonna work with y'all. I'm just gonna try and stack them up together. So there's definitely things that I'm gonna need to change on them, but really it's just correcting the overall arch on one of them. I'm gonna go ahead and heat it up so I can correct that by just changing the arch. Okay. Heat up this one, put a little bit more arch in the spine of it, and then they should be almost spot on. But yeah, when it comes to the steels that I use, 5160 is probably one of the biggest steels. Then your 10 series steels, your 80 CRV2, which is just basically 1080 with some chromium and vanadium. And then, so all your 1080, 1084, 1085, 1095. And then I also use things like 26C3, which is one of my favorites for making chef knives or really nice high-end EDCs. It's going to have a pretty decent corrosion resistance, and on top of that, I can make these EDCs like this with still tempering it and everything, with that edge hardness being 65 Rockwell. 65 is like what you would have a chef's knife, so you're hardly ever going to need to sharpen this. It's got a very, very, very tiny little cutting edge bevel on there because these were brought down to pretty much a 0 edge. These were sharpened with an 800 grit belt on the 2x42. That's all it took to sharpen these. I didn't have to go in, even though it's 65 Rockwell, I didn't have to go in with the 400. I didn't have to go in with like a bunch of different things. I went in with an 800 grit, brought that thing down, made sure it stropped it on all the strops and everything, and razor sharp. Alright, I'm going to correct this profile just a little bit by putting a little bit of arch in the spine. And that should get me where I need to be. Alright. Now we're basically right on top of each other. Let's see if I can pick these up together. I don't know if I'm going to be able to, but we'll find out. That's one side. That's the other side. You can see all I got to do is just go through, take a little bit off that tip, about less than 1/8 off that spine. I mean, I don't even need to do that because if I really all I need to do is take a little bit off this edge, a little bit off that edge. The handles are spot on. Exactly. Handles, the heels, look at that. It's just take a little bit off that blade there. Then of course the tapers are what's making you have that gap because there's a distal to the tip. So the tips are touching, the tangs aren't because there's a distal to the tip and a distal to the tang. So yeah. Okay. So those are looking good. Give me 1 second and I'll answer your question that you asked there. Put these in here, let them come up the tip, and then we'll anneal them. I need to go to Texas. It's been a little tip setting from you. Transition from the choil into the micro plunge. Not an easy thing to master. Well, I'm down to have y'all down here. I do classes in the shop and things like that. One of the things that I do, manage the scale with 80CRV2. So for one, after I get done doing a lot of these, I'll go through and I'll do a vinegar soak. So I soak them in vinegar for about 15 to 20 hours. Every about 5 hours, I'll hit them with a brush and a lot of that scale will come off. By the end of the 15 to 20 hours, I've brushed it probably 3 rounds and there's no more scale on the blades. Now, the thing that you have to worry about with 80CRV2 is decarb. So if you forge them really thin, and you got to worry about the decarb because it has a deep layer of decarb with 80CRV2. So if you forge it really thin and then you go and you heat treat it, it's not going to have a super perfect edge if the edge is really, really thin. So with 80CRV2, leave that edge about the thickness of a dime and then finish grinding it after that. Because if not, they're going to have so much decarb that you're going to have to bring that edge up to about the thickness of a dime so that you can then, the thickness of a nickel almost, so that you can then bring those bevels in and get that nice and hard edge on there. With something like 26C3, with 26C3, I can heat treat it, and I'll turn this off real quick because those are already at the temp. That way they can start annealing. With 26C3, man, you can heat treat them bad boys almost paper thin and not have to worry about that decarb. You can go in and test them and they're screaming hard right off the rip. But I mean, I get 26C3 whenever it's done with the heat treat process. My 26C3 before temper is about 68 to 69 Rockwell. Before temper, almost 70. So then you'll take that and temper it down to about, with me, I temper it down to about 65. Some of the chef's knives, I'll temper them down to about, I mean, I've done them between 65, 68. So you're tempering it at like 300 degrees for 2 hours times 2, as opposed to like 400. There's a recipe for everything. Hello, that is a very long name, Anderson. So with those, there's a recipe for tempering for pretty much everything. Where do I get 26C3? I get it from Maritime Knife Supply, Pops. You can also get it from Texas Knife Supply. A few different people carry it. Typically, it's going to be in like 3-foot bars. I get it in 3-foot bars. I get it 4 bars at a time. Got a whole bunch of the bars underneath the forge right here of it. And I typically use them for chef's knives. I've been using it for these EDCs because they've been making some nice EDCs. And like my EDCs that I carry, my folders, are out of MagnaCut. And it's like, you know, it gets almost that hard. It's a razor steel, scalpel steel type deal, just a high carbon, non-stainless version of one of those. So holds a real nice edge whenever it's really thin. A lot of people don't know this, but 15N20 is another steel that can get a nice, really hard, long-lasting edge. So if you want to make some nice chef's knives that are going to be really corrosion resistant, 15N20 is one of those steels for sure. So if you're wanting to make a high polished knife that is going to stay with a really good finish on it for a very long time, it'll get a little bit of a patina, but not much. 15N20 is that steel. You know, because whenever you do Damascus, the steel that doesn't corrode or get removed as much whenever you are doing the acid etching is the 15N20. The 10 series steel eats away a lot, gets dark, and corrodes. The 15N20 doesn't. So if you're going to make some, and those chef knives, you can get them super thin, have nice flexibility, especially if you're doing fillet knives or something like that. And on top of that, get that nice corrosion resistance. Yeah, 15N20 is awesome still. And I've done some EDCs with that as well, but I do chef's knives with things like 15N20, 26C3, stuff like that. But yeah, here in a minute, I'm going to go in here and add this one to the website so that people can go on and fight to try and purchase it. We'll see what ends up happening with that one. I'm going to post it on the social media that I've added it on there. So whoever ends up grabbing that one is going to be the only one to be able to get one of those outside of the show circuit. So I'm only bringing 4 with me to Texas Select, and I'm bringing like 6 with me to the Blade Atlanta. Should be 9Q is the table that I'll be at for Blade Atlanta. So, yeah. Now, here's the deal. So with the the demos that I do with forging, I typically have to do 3 knives in order to make it fill up 2 hours. Or if I'm making like a large knife or something like this right here, we talked a lot while I was forging this one. You know, now that's a big knife, rather large chef knife. But for like this right here, those are ones that take a little while to do. But whenever I'm making these like EDCs and stuff like that, you know, the last batch that I did of this particular profile, I did 6 of them at one time. And I did all 6 of them in like 3 hours. So it was 6 forged, almost forged to finish EDCs with bevels, distal tapers, with everything. It was awesome having you here, Steve. Steve is actually going to be possibly making me another 2x72. If y'all don't know who Steve is the guy that made that. So my power hammer right here. Steve Jennings is the guy who made and brought this to me. 40-pound ram power hammer. Absolutely awesome piece of machinery right there. And he's going to be making me one of those the Revolution grinders from Brown House. He made himself one, and he got it all painted up, and that bad boy looks beautiful. So good. So that's one of the things that's going to be coming into the shop, so that, for one, it's going to make it a lot easier for doing classes, because I'll be able to have more than one person on the grinder at any given time. If y'all don't follow Steve, is it SJS on, is it SJS Knives? I'll share it on Instagram. He makes a lot of cool stuff. But yeah, I typically have to forge bigger stuff in order to fill out like 2 hours. You know, whether I'm doing an integral bolster knife or something like that. Because for a lot of these, whenever I go through and I'm forging them, you know, you get efficient with your preforms and things like that, understanding where the material's got to go in order to get the certain outcome. And it makes forging it really fast, because you know what to do in that process. You're not having to go through and guess. But even for me, even if I am guessing at it, I've forged so many knives that I understand roughly what the steel is going to do when I hit it with a hammer. And it makes it a lot easier on me. But I've forged a ridiculous amount of knives. And it is what it is. It's a nice little process, but whenever I do the demos, I have to do like 3 knives in order to fill up 2 hours. And whenever people watch Forged in Fire and they see them do that, and they're like, damn, Eric can do 3 knives in the time that it takes them to make one. And there's a difference. If I was forging Damascus and then forging a profile, it'd be one thing. But then again, I don't use, during these demos, I don't use any power tools. I don't use any press or power hammers or anything like that. So if I was doing Damascus and I had a press and a power hammer to make it into a forgeable billet, I mean, to be fair, I could spend the first 2 hours turning that thing into a billet and restacking it, and then take the last hour to almost forge it to finish without having to use a 2x72. So if I did use a 2x72, I'd probably only need like 5 minutes on the 2x72. SJ Forging. There you go. So, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of people that go on Forged in Fire, that have been on Forged in Fire, that want to come and learn some of this stuff from me. And the show that I'm going to, Texas Select, it's a whole bunch of Forged in Fire challenge, competitors and winners who are at this show. The show started off as a Forged in Fire only show, where a whole bunch of Forged in Fire contestants came together and did all of that. And then they opened it up to other makers. And last year I was there to just live stream a little bit and be there. They didn't really know who I was. And because of so much stuff that I've done over the last year, I will be up on their stage doing my demo in front of all of their people. And you have my demo, which is the only forging demo. And then Jay Nielsen is doing an anatomy of an anvil. I don't know if he's going to forge it all or not. He's going to be talking about the anvil that I used during my demo. So it's kind of cool being the other celebrity with the Forged and Fire judges. Evidently, I do okay stuff. But you know how it goes. It's just putting in the work, doing all the stuff, doing all these live streams, and going and doing these demos and teaching people. You know, one of the things that a lot of people was awesome having you here, Joe. So one of the things that I like to show people is, of course, whenever I do my preforms. So just because this kind of, I wouldn't say it debunks the whole entire how people have been taught to forge, because a lot of people are taught to forge by blacksmiths, how to bladesmith. So you basically, you take your piece of steel, you forge in a tip, you pull out your heel, and then you forge in your handle. You basically work from tip to the end of your tang. And the process that I do is not that. So forge in your preformed tip, little notch for where your handle is going to start. So all this material back here is for handle, all this material is for blade. You take that, the step after that is this one, where you take that little notch and you forge a big wedge. I have a membership on here. You can join it. It's just, you just hit join membership on the channel. What's up, do it. And it's basically like Patreon, but it's just through YouTube. And so you forge in the wedge here, another notch, that. So you go from this to this to this. So you forge this in here, big notch, still have your preform for your blade, still the same profile on the blade, and then that turns into that. We're very slowly forging out an axe drift. Heck yeah. Using him as a power hammer. So then you get to this right here. By starting off with a simple preform. Actually, almost this exact thing right here. So you go from this to this to this, and this is the exact preforms to this to this, with bevels forged, full hand profile. And you can do that same exact process with something this small. But a lot of people see this and they think, well, you can't do that because you can't pinch all of this material here. But I just showed you for a fact that you can. Do the same exact process, but this is what I did, turning something like that into that. If you do that much work right there, you're saving a ton of money. Because you're taking a piece of steel that's only this big and forging it out into a knife that big. And then you're saving all that material that you're grinding away and putting that money into another piece of another knife. It's the same thing with this. You can't take that and stock removal this knife out of it. It's not possible. This is bigger than this. So it's all about using the materials and getting used to the forging process. But yeah, are you using him as your power hammer? Is he going to be your striker while you're doing it? Or is he going to be the one holding the material? But yeah, so it's all simple stuff. I didn't exactly do a very long live stream today, partially because I've got to grind out some more chef knives. I've got to go through and grind this Damascus one right here. It's going to have a really cool pattern on it. It's a ladder pattern. Damascus chef. Got to go through, grind that out. And that'll be my last chef to grind for Texas Select. So that's what I'm about to start working on. We go inside, snack on something, get something to drink, come out here, start grinding. And yeah, are you gonna live stream today, Duck? You gonna live stream y'all forging out a axe drift? If you're even still on here. What we did today, Duck, was we forged a couple more of the EDCs. So if you were wondering what we actually made today. What I'm going to do is I'll go through. What's up, Daniel? I'll go through and I'll clean up these profiles that we forged today. And I will post them on the social medias and all of that stuff either tonight or tomorrow night. I might go ahead, if they cool down fast enough, I'll clean them up and send out what they look like tonight on the different social medias and all of that. What we ended up forging was we took a piece of 26C3 like this and we forged it into one of these little bird and trout or fin and feather style EDCs. So we took two of these and we forged out two of these profiles right here, which I really like. These turn into this. So those turn into this wonderful, beautiful little thing right here. And those come with a hybrid Kydex leather sheath. This one has a little ulti clip on it. That one's going to be on the website here in about 15-20 minutes. It's going to be the only one that I sell outside of Texas Select or Blade Show Atlanta. I'll have these at my table at both of those shows, but this is the only one out of all the sets that I'm making of this that are going to go onto the website. And that's primarily just so that I have money for just change and all kinds of stuff at the show. So someone's getting one of these and it'll be the only one that you can buy outside of the show. So unless you're in person, you can't have one of these. And this thing is beautiful, amazing, rich light, blue rich light with brown micarta pins. Very light, good EDC no matter which way you're holding it. Boom. So that's the one. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and probably end this here so that I can get this uploaded onto the website. Just got to do a few pictures and description, and that bad boy will be for sale. Go check it out, theriversexperience.com, if you're still here and you want to buy that thing. So I think I'm going to end it here. I'm going to go inside, get something to drink. I don't want to lose my voice completely. I typically have no voice going into Sunday, so let's go ahead. Let's end it right here. Thank y'all for being here. Thank y'all for talking in the chat. I will catch y'all next week for another live stream. This will be the last live stream before the Texas Select show, and I'll be live streaming on the stage at that show. So come check that stuff out. Guys, I'll catch y'all later. Y'all have a good one too. Bye, y'all.